Hello and welcome to my studio journal. Now back in 2022, I started to redesign my home studio, shifting from software to hardware for the first time. What began as a few videos for some curious students soon became an ongoing unfiltered record. Okay, this is now with the desk in place, which gives us a little bit more room to work in here, but not much. Okay, so this is the back of the IKEA desk that I bought. We have, using a hole saw, I cut 3 large holes which the audio monitor stands are now going to go through. Okay, so just to be clear, when I'm talking about audio monitor stands, I'm talking about these stands right here that are used to hold your monitors up behind a desk or somewhere on the floor. And we're going to run these particular stands through this desk using those holes there. Okay, so these are the 3 monitor stands. This part's easy. The top part just slides right out, leaving just the base to be used. Now, the problem really comes in with the base. So we have to get this base underneath the legs of the table and yet thread the top through the hole there. So that's where a little bit more of the balancing act comes in. But I'll show you what it looks like once it's all finished. All right, excuse the bad carpet, but this is what it looks like underneath the desk now with the 3 monitor stands. And we have the blocks of wood that are supporting the desk. So everything is clear, everything is balanced right and standing correctly, so it should hold the weight perfectly. This is now what the top of the desk looks like with the 3 collars of the audio monitor stands poking through. We just need to add the tops to them. All right, this actually brings up a good point. When you do figure out how something works in your studio, it's a really good idea to keep notes so that you remember how to put it back the way it was to begin with. I mean, once I took a look at the photos and remembered how I did it, it was really, really simple. But the idea, once again, is that you want to make sure to keep good notes as to how you have things set up so that you can just put them back together. So now what we do is we just take the tops of the stands and put them through into the stand that's below and just face them up so that they work right from the front. And then this becomes the platform and it carries the load straight through to the floor. So this becomes now where we actually put our media bridge. And that works out really well because then the desk can still support 135 pounds when it's done because it's supporting nothing when it comes as far as the monitors. Everything, the video monitors and the audio monitors are actually being supported by the stands. Okay, this almost basically finishes the physical part of the desk. So once again, this is a lac shelf from IKEA. It's the 6-foot, 3-inch wide one or whatever. I checked out the specs on it. Now this is not what this shelf is meant for, but it certainly works in this case because the monitor stands are supporting all the monitor weight anyhow, which is way over what the shelf can support, but the shelf is supported in 3 places right down to the floor, so there's absolutely no issues whatsoever. As you see, I also I like IKEA a lot because there's a lot of things you can get there that are just not crazy expensive, but really kind of helpful. So these are a bunch of lights that I have that I'll hook up in the end in that. So I have 2 lights underneath this shelf right here. And all we do is we just take the shelf, put it up top here, and there we have our media bridge. So now when we put everything up here on place, the speakers, yeah, they're going to be a little bit high, but they won't be that crazy high. So, but everything in that should actually turn out to work pretty well. So one of the other things we can talk about is video monitors. So it depends on what you want to do. For instance, there's widescreen monitors, of course, which you can have quite a bit of real estate on one monitor, or you might be someone that likes dual monitors like myself. Well, kind of like myself. What happened was, once again, when I started my studio, I bought these screens because I was doing kind of orchestral work, which meant I could have my DAW on one screen and have all the plugins, the different sections of the orchestra on the other. And so I ended up going with 2 screens. Of course, this was way before we had those great big long screens. Now, I mean, had I been given the choice today, I might have gone with something else. In this case, I'm setting up a couple of workstations, so I would like to have a couple of screens on this desk as well as I have a monitor for my other one. Now, one of the other things, and right now we're just going to set this stuff up. We're going to plug it all in later on and get it working, but for right now we just want it in the right place. So now if I drop this monitor right here, I know it's going to be roughly right where I want it. When I take this other monitor, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to chuck this monitor right, well, maybe not chuck it, maybe place it. Place it right here. And those are going to be roughly right where I need them. So how do I know that? Well, and I'll just play around with the edges because these are those monitors that turn right around. So how do I know that roughly this is where these monitors should go on this desk? Well, quite simply, what I did is I used Tailor Chalk to outline where these particular monitors fit on this particular desk. So I know roughly. I mean, I can play around with them later on to get them just perfect, but I know that that now leaves the right amount of space on each side for my audio monitors. Okay, so when you're designing your studio, one other huge component, it's almost the main component of your studio, and that is what sort of computer are you going to use? Now, this one happens to be a Mac Mini. I wish I could tell you the specs on it. I think it could have 16 to 32 gigs of RAM in it, and it has a solid state drive. I honestly don't know. All I know is it works for me, and it does everything I need to do in my studio. And at the time when I was searching for this computer, I did my research to find out how much power, computing power, I might need and use, and therefore I based my computer on that. Now, I don't think it matters whether you use a Mac or a PC. I've used both, I've had both, and they both work great for me. So that's not a big deal. Like, for instance, the Mac Mini, what I liked about it is, if you look at the back of this thing, it has a lot of different USB-C, USB-A ports. I mean, it has a whole bunch of different ports in this thing, which then allows me to hook up a bunch of other equipment. With a laptop and that, I would have had to get more USB hubs and things like this. So once again, do your research, find out what sort of computer might work best for you, and that's the computer that you're really going to want to buy. Also, you could be in a situation where you have the computer you have, you're just going to have to make work. Maybe if you have insufficient RAM, how to make that RAM work for you. I remember in the old days when I started, I mean, you were using computers and you were freezing tracks all the time. You were creating, and that was even before you had a freeze track function. You actually had to re-record in audio. In fact, when I first started, I mean, you were using tape. Four-track tape was my first thing that I used, where you'd record one layer and then another layer and then bounce the tracks down and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, technology's come a far way. I used to have several computers in my office, one that would run different sections of the orchestra, along with my main computer for sequencing. But I found this little Mac actually does it all. Do your research, come up with what you need computer-wise, computer power-wise, and peripheral attachment-wise on your computer, and that's a good start for getting your studio going. Okay, so now I have the monitors in place. I have the cords on top of them to be plugged in when I go to set those things up. Now, when I was talking about big monitors, I kind of meant big monitors. These are KRK Rocket 8s. Now, this was probably a huge mistake of mine. Not because these aren't good monitors, okay? So if anybody has these monitors and going, well, what are you being bad on these monitors for? No, that's not it. The thing is that this was a case where I bought these things way before I knew what I was doing with the studio. And so I walked in and I said, hey, I'm looking for some audio monitors. And the guy says, this way. And, never asked me what size room I had. I should have done my research first. There wasn't a whole lot of research maybe that I could have done at that particular time, because this was a long time ago. I think these monitors just came out when I got them. As you can see, they're the first generation, because they're square in the corner and all that. And that is way too powerful for this room. We already talked about the room being 12 feet by 12 feet. So this is ridiculous, the amount of the size of these things. They can't complete a sound wave. So what ends up happening is mixing then becomes a real pain. What can I say? I got a soft spot for them, so I keep them around and I enjoy them. I do have another set of monitors as well. This time I did my research and I actually got smaller ones. which means I also need a way to switch between the two sets of monitors. And the way I do that, because I don't have another thing to plug in on my desk, I'm already going to have enough, is I use this passive monitor switcher, the Mackie Big Knob. And what's going to happen is, once again, I'm just going to actually have that right up here, right where it's convenient for me to switch back and do volumes and that sort of stuff. And so once again, what we're doing is we're just getting everything set up on the desk to wire it in and worry about how we're going to hook it up later on. Because first thing is, I need it where I need it. Next part is to see if it'll work in the places that I have this different equipment. If you'd like to follow the full journey, check out my online studio journal linked in the description. Until next time, I'm just a music teacher having fun. Catch you on the next one.